5 biggest design failures in World War II. Imagine climbing into the cockpit of a death trap, a flying machine that's as likely to kill you as it is to bring you back home. These are the stories of the 5 worst aircraft designs of the Second World War, the planes that never should have left the drawing board. As the Second World War dawned, the world of aviation was still in its infancy. Aircraft design was a relatively new science, and even the most advanced planes of the time were far from perfect. Among the many successes of the war, such as the Supermarine Spitfire and the B-29 Superfortress, there were also a number of spectacular failures. If you are curious about the progress of aviation and the unsung failures, watch this video till the very end, as we reveal the behind-the-scenes struggles of aviation technology and the human cost of these deadly designs. Welcome to History Flicks, our humble abode where we rewind, magnify, and curiously savor war chimes for warriors like you. From the skies of World War II came a host of legendary aircrafts, but for every Supermarine Spitfire and B-29 Superfortress, there were also monumental failures. Learn about the Blackburn Botha, Messerschmitt Me 210, and the top 5 infamous and deadly aircraft designs of the war. Discovered the obstacles and mistakes in early 20th century aviation technology. But before that, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to our channel for amazing war content. Let's begin. Number 5. The Breda 88 Linz was a dream in motion. A sleek and beautiful bird that promised to soar above the clouds and set the world ablaze. But beneath its shiny exterior lay a myriad of problems that would ultimately bring this Italian stallion crashing to the ground. In 1936, Fascist Italy's Regia Aeronautica set out to create a fighter bomber that could reach the impossible. With a speed of 530 km per hour and a range of 2,000 km, the Breda 88 Linz was their answer. A precision-engineered machine that would make aviation history. And it did. In 1937, the Breda 88 Linz prototype broke the world speed record, reaching an average of 554 km per hour over a 100-km stage. It broke another record later that year, reaching an average speed of 530 km per hour over a 1,000-km stage. Fascist propaganda hailed the Breda 88 Linz as the future of aerial warfare, but the reality was far from it. To meet military specifications, the plane was loaded with over a ton of ancillary equipment, which substantially increased its weight. To make matters worse, when the planes arrived in North Africa, Italian technicians fitted sand filters to the air intakes, which cut the plane's power by more than half. Some planes proved so cumbersome they couldn't even take off. With their planes grounded, Italian ground crews stripped them for parts and scattered them around decoy airfields. A tragic end for the Breda 88 Linz, a world record holder that failed to live up to its potential, and a reminder that even the most beautiful dreams can have a dark side. But our Italian bird wasn't the only crasher in the World War. We found someone more disappointing. Number 4. In 1935, the British government had high hopes for their skies. They envisioned a powerful 3-man, twin-engine aircraft that could pierce the clouds as a torpedo bomber and soar the skies as a reconnaissance plane. 2 designs were chosen, the Bristol Beaufort and the Blackburn Botha. But before the celebration could begin, the government changed the plans. Now they wanted a 4-man aircraft. This called for more powerful engines, but unfortunately, those engines were not easily attainable. The designers tried to put a stop to the project, but they were overruled. The Blackburn Botha had to make do with what it had. What it had were 2 underpowered 930 horsepower Perseus engines and a cumbersome airframe. It trudged through the sky at a sluggish 180 knots and had no rear-facing windows and minimal visibility out the side. The Botha was the antithesis of a quick and agile reconnaissance plane. But despite all the red flags, 442 were ordered in 1936. By the time the air war over Britain began in 1940, the Botha was considered a death trap. Experienced pilots struggled to keep it in the air, and a series of fatal crashes sealed its fate. Botha were moved back to training squadrons, but it only brought more misery. Of the 478 sent to training squadrons, 24 were lost at sea following engine failure, and another 145 crashed on land. Scores of novice pilots and crewmen met their ends trying to land the lumbering beast. By 1944, the design was scrapped, and the Blackburn Botha became a legend for all the wrong reasons. A tale of what happens when ambition outstrips common sense. Number 3. As the engineers of Luftwaffe scratched their heads trying to figure out how to improve the outdated design of the Messerschmitt Bf-110, they came up with an ambitious solution, the Me 210. Dubbed as the crown jewel of German engineering, this twin-engine aircraft boasted a bomb bay and advanced remote-controlled guns, but as soon as it took flight, it became apparent that something was amiss. Pilots reported that the Me 210 was wildly unstable and had a tendency to stall and spin out of control. Despite numerous attempts to fix the issues, the plane was still considered a death trap, with even Messerschmitt's own chief test pilot calling it the least desirable aircraft to fly. Despite the obvious shortcomings, Luftwaffe began receiving the Me 210 in April 1942, but the airmen were not impressed, and it wasn't long before production was halted and redesigns were underway. In a desperate bid to escape the Me 210's troubled past, the redesigned aircraft was given a new name, the Me 410. Number 2. The Blackburn Rock was a story of unfulfilled potential and a cautionary tale of how outdated ideas can lead to costly failures. Conceived in the wave of British enthusiasm for turret fighters in the 1930s, the Rock was designed with a rear-facing mobile turret behind the pilot's seat for intercepting and shooting down bombers. However, this theory was already outdated by the time of its design in 1936. Despite this, the project was pushed forward. The Rock's maiden flight in 1938 revealed it to be too heavy, too slow, and sluggish in its maneuvers. Despite efforts to scrap the project, production continued, and the Blackburn Rock was ready for combat in time for the Allied campaign in Norway. However, during this campaign, the fatal flaw of having no forward-facing guns was discovered, making the Rock unable to effectively engage in combat. It was a complete failure, never managing to shoot down a single enemy plane. By 1940, the Rock had been withdrawn from frontline service and relegated to target towing and training. Some Rocks had their turrets removed, and when fixed in the ground, they proved to be excellent at anti-aircraft defense. The Blackburn Rock was a bitter disappointment for the Royal Air Force, a prime example of how outdated theories and a lack of foresight can lead to costly mistakes in war. It serves as a reminder that the technology and tactics of warfare are constantly evolving, and that to stay ahead, one must always be willing to adapt and innovate. Number 1. The comet was a fiery comet that blazed across the skies, leaving German pilots in awe, but also struggle. Developed as early as 1937 and first taking flight in 1941, it was a revolutionary plane that set a world speed record of 1,004 kilometers per hour, a record that will remain unbroken until the end of the war. The Comet's speed came from its lightweight construction and a rocket engine that was fueled by a highly reactive substance called T-Stoff, which was known to explode upon contact with organic matter, causing injuries and fatalities among pilots and ground crews. In the final days of the war, the Comet was seen as a last resort weapon by Göring's emergency fighter program, due to its incredible speed, which made it impossible to intercept by Allied fighters, leaving Allied bombers vulnerable. However, the Comet's fuel would only last for 7 seconds, making it a sitting duck once the fuel was spent, and the Comet pilots managed to shoot down only 9 enemy planes during the entire war. The Comet's designer, Helmut Walter, had made sure that the plane glides exceptionally well, but this proved to be a double-edged sword, as a small gust of wind could easily lift it out of its landing approach and into trees, hills, or buildings. 80% of Comet pilots were killed trying to land their snub-nosed rocket planes. Despite their shortcomings, these aircraft and many others still played a major role in the war effort. They were the best the respective countries could produce at the time and served their purpose, however limited it may have been. They also served as a valuable learning experience for the future development of aircraft. But what do you think? At that peak moment, would it have been logical for countries to back off or force their horrendous aircraft on people? Let us know what you think about it in the comments section. Meet you in the next one. Till then, stay safe.